a lot of my DZBT02 videos will be delayed due to personal reasons, as I mentioned in my opening video, but I still want to get some stuff out of the way as soon as possible because I'm really excited to share them with you. And of course, one of my priorities is of course reading a children's manga. Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm DZBT04 here. Welcome to DZBT02 Illusionless Strife. And there are a lot, and I mean a lot of impactful cards in this set, and quite a lot of random rubbish. But among this rubbish, we are getting quite a fair bit of impactful one-offs or two-offs that can really help change the way a lot of decks are built. So really, I would say don't sleep on this set. There's quite a lot of things you can actually get. Then out of the way though, today we'll be starting with Varjula, who is the CoroCoro children's magazine boss monster of a guy called Zero Tendou. So this deck is very affordable, where I kid you not, the whole right line is common and rare, including the boss monster and even his support is all common and rare. Because of this, and because in bushiroad's advertisements they are promoting this as the Gakusei or grade schooler deck, generally speaking, I aim to also make this relatively budget friendly. Now, this deck can definitely be improved. It definitely has a lot of room for more expensive cards. That's definitely for sure. But today I wanted to talk about this in terms of a more meta type of thing. A lot of people are complaining about DivineZ and D being too expensive. Oh my goodness, $600 staples like Shenri, of which I myself also cannot afford. And then you have other stuff like Blindly Maya is really expensive. Stuff like Vanguard, your strike deck sets, your ban list, your this, your that. And I wanted to take a step back from all this and just take a more simpler time, just be like kids again. And I really cannot describe how happy I am playing Varjula. Varjula, or Virgila if you're in English, is really a deck like no other. This deck, I built this for, I think, less than 1,000 yen. Yeah, less than 1,000 yen. It didn't help that I own a lot of these cards because I already am very heavily invested in Dragon Empire, but generally speaking, it's not expensive to get this deck, because the point is for children, right? This is a children's card game. So now that I've talked all about this out of the way, I'm going to go through this deck. It's very simple, very effective, and strangely very strong. I don't think this is tiered in any way, certainly not, but I do think this is a deck that you actually could have a lot of fun with. I think this definitely is worth giving a look into. If you are a fan of Skyride, if you're reading the Skyride manga, you definitely should pick this up. Like almost 100%. You will thoroughly enjoy this. But if you're not a fan of Skyride, or if you're just a casual player looking for a cheap budget deck, or hell, if you're just looking for something fun to try and you have to spend, I don't know, $10, definitely try this deck. Absolutely. And now that we have confirmation it's in English, I don't see why not. The right deck is obviously for Varjula, so we start off with the Energy Crest. I've already gone through Energy, so if you're interested in that, you can check the link in the description below, because I do cover it for my DivineZ Explained video. Although Skyride doesn't explicitly talk about energy, but the energy mechanic is quite important to Varjula. A grade 0 is not surprisingly Varjula. Yeah, I really like this. I've heard a lot of complaints from English players online. For some reason, they're really upset that the artwork on the Varjula right line is very simple, but they literally drew this frame by frame from the manga. So, I don't know, guys. Did you read the same source material? Rising Star Varjula is the grade 1, and a lot of these effects literally come from the manga. So it's kind of funny that we are now going backwards in terms of, last time it was the cards from the anime or the game give you the effects for their manga. Now it's completely other way around. So Varjula, his first skill is that he gains 2,000 power for each one of your rear guards during your turn, which is exactly the same as what he does in the manga. But he also gives you a brand new skill, which is Soul Blast 1. When you want to ride from your right deck, you can pay Soul Blast 1 instead of discarding a card from your hand. So that's completely generic, by the way, of an effect. So you could play this in every right deck if you want. It's just that obviously this being the native Varjula right deck, you would play this guy, because it's the Varjula deck, right? Moving on, we have Shooting Star Varjula. What I really like is, even though the manga doesn't really show, it's a bit blurred for some people, Rising Star and Shooting Star have very uniquely different designs. And I love Shooting Star's cape, and then it's just his hands. He reminds me a lot of the Stardust monsters from Yu-Gi-Oh! But we will get into that later. Shooting Star Varjula is definitely the break point of the deck. It's definitely the card that puts the deck on a pedestal. It really scares a lot of people. And it's probably because Zero won his first game on his grade 2. So, what a take note of that. Shooting Star Varjula, by revealing a Varjula that's grade 3 from your right deck. It's not locked to this name, by the way. It's any Varjula. So in the future, if we get like a Varjula triple rare or something, you know, or an upgrade, we can actually play the new one as well. If you flip a grade 3 Varjula on your right deck, if you have 4 more rear guards, this unit gains +1 critical. Yeah, I'm not feeling 100%. But yeah, that's +1 critical for virtually 0 cost. All you have to do is just flip and show them you're playing a Varjula deck, which, you know, you obviously are, right? And then there you go, you just get +1 crit. Absolutely free. Just build a board, which this deck, as you can tell from its grade 1 and grade 2 forms, very aggressive. Highly aggressive. And it gets better, because when this unit is rolled upon, by anything by the way, look at the top 7 cards to your deck, add a grade 2 card from among them to your hand, and if you wrote a Varjula unit on top of this unit, you can search the whole deck. The whole deck for any grade 2. What? Like, bro, I can hear Ames crying in his grave, man. Like, what? CB1 draw 1? Nah. Toolbox, whatever you want. Rewrite the Star Varjula, or Relight the Star Varjula. That's our grade 3. Yeah, he's not bad. Varjula, the grade 3 form, has had a change in skill. They edited it from his 2nd fight till his, I think, 3rd or 4th fight. It's actually a different ability, but they are using the ability from his most recent fight at the moment of this recording, which is the one that he had when fighting Dekakun, the big Sarasville guy. Yeah. I mean, that card's really interesting. The fact that they're referencing a quick start that monster in Skyride is really cool. Okay, but anyways, so his skill is that he Energy Blast 3, he chooses one of your opponent's rear guards and bind it, and then he calls a grade 2 card from your drop zone. So it's a +1 to your board, -1 to their board, which is really cool. I mean, for a card that's supposed to be a children's boss, like, this is pretty good. Energy Blast 3 means you can use this forever, because unlike Triumph Dragon or the bosses that need Energy Blast 4, this is 3. Every turn you do get 3, you are never put at a deficit of a -1. Very complicated, I know, but like, trust me, I've played this deck a lot. I've tested this quite a fair bit, and it's really quite impressive. I think the only weird part about this skill is that sometimes your board is already so full, so you don't really need the +1. But against control matchups, definitely you will need that superior callback. It will save your life, and I will teach you how to actually abuse this skill. There's actually a card that can work very well with the ability, so stay tuned for that. The -1 to your opponent's rears is just really good. You can snipe off an Evoke Alchemist, you can snipe off an Intercept, snipe off, you know, even their Festival Collection, double rares, sorry, from Festival Booster 2024, like their special Intercepts and whatnot. Snipe them off, no issue. It's really devastating, it's really good in my opinion. That, you know, they give such a simple and fun effect. But the second skill is that when this unit attacks, count +1, choose one of your grade 2 rear guards and stand it. So this is kind of where Varjula kind of falls a little bit. It's really basic, because this is a really simplified skill. The issues with Varjula, as you will see, is that, you know, you have a lot of fun stuff, but you don't really have numbers. Numbers is kind of the one thing that's missing in the Varjula deck, so we are going to try and help him with that. Moving on to our grade 3s. Our grade 3s, we play, you know, a copy of Relight the Star Varjula in the right deck, and then we play 3 copies of Relight the Star Varjula in the main deck. I don't think I need to explain this, it's just a persona, right? But yeah, you will need to persona, right? But your hands are really small, so you may end up discarding your persona rights more often than not. That being said though, as I alluded in Shooting Star Varjula, it's actually a totally viable strategy to actually just sit on your grade 2 for an additional turn. Like, if you can maintain a full board and use a certain card over and over, you are actually encouraged to stay on Shooting Star Varjula. So Relight the Star kind of becomes like your finisher. That being said, when talking about grade 2s, obviously we have Shooting Star Varjula in the right deck. And then for the main deck, we have a lot of cards, because as I mentioned previously, you know, Varjula and Shooting Star can 2-box the entire grade 2 lineup. So we actually play a few spicy cards here. We play 4 copies of Hadan Reso and 4 copies of Brachio Force. But then we also include his native and special ability, Stardust Blade. I love this card. This is so cool. Look at that. It's in actual body fight style card. It's like those stupid musics that they do for collabs, but they're finally giving it to a Cardfight Vanguard card. I just feel so proud right now. It's so cool, and it's a cutout of one of, I dare say, the best manga frames we have for Vanguard in a very long time. Yeah. Okay, so I'm just gonna skip this one first because I feel like we should get the rest out of the way, then I can gush about Stardust Blade. Brachial Force, you know Brachial Force, surely. We've covered this so many times. And then Baldi's unit attack hits on the rearguard circle, kill himself, choose one opponent's rearguards, and retire it and draw a card. Because Varjula can constantly resurrect grade 2s to his side of the field, Brachial Force is definitely one of the best options you can look for because Brachial Force gives you a control aspect. Something, it's really good in this meta. And it gives you card advantage as well. So generally speaking, Brachial Force is definitely one of the best options you can pick up. And we did get a tournament promo reprint for the January-February wave, if I'm not mistaken. So by all accounts, you should be able to get this. And it's a common, so I mean, I get it's an expensive common, but it's not that bad. But if you want to talk about secret spicy super tech that I'm, hiding from people, well, hide no more. It's Hadan Reso. And Hadan Reso is definitely one of the most dangerous cards in this deck because of its simple ability. When called by your Vanguard's effect, it gains 10,000 power. That's it. That's it. It's a 19k beater. And that's it. And don't forget, with Relight The Star Varjula, you get to restand the unit. So you can just call this guy and then just stand him. So you get 2 attacks at 19,000 power. And if you combo off with something else from this deck, like for example Static Crack Dragon, which we do actually play, yeah, that is a +5. That's a 24k beater that stands just by a Counterblast, which already chips over quite a fair bit of magic numbers. And as I mentioned previously, you already just dealt with the entire Shooting Star Varjula turn. So very devastating, very high amounts of damage you can see. But the only downside is because it's scaled at 24,000 power, most of your power doesn't really come from your rearguards, and it makes it really hard to play this deck. Until we talk about the elephant in the room, or should I say the giant flying cyber dragon in the room, our Hisatswasa Stardust Blade. It's our grade 2 normal order. This is a normal order, okay? It's not set order. It has very interesting effects. It's really a cutout from the manga. It literally is just like an addendum for those of you who read academic papers. It's basically just like a tag-on skill you give Varjula, and it's really, really good. And they wrote the Stardust Blade text here on the side as well, so just like the manga panel. It's insane. Okay, what does it do? Why does this make Varjula an actual deck? Here's why. You play this card with Counterblast 1 if you have a Vanguard with Varjula on its name. Look at the top 5 cards of your deck. Call a card with the same grade or lower from among them as your Vanguard to rearguard circle. Then you shuffle the deck. Your Vanguard Varjula gains 2 effects. 1. This unit, if any one of your rearguards are retired during your turn, search your deck for another and call. And its second ability it gives Varjula is that Varjula gains 3,000 power for every normal unit on your field and your drop zone until the end of the turn. Yeah, I mean, this card and the abilities of it seem very weird, but you have to read the first volume of Skywrite to kind of get the context. So Varjula is a deck that can power up based on the number of friends on the board, and later on as he evolves into Shooting Star, the idea is that he can also gain powers from his colleagues that have been deceased, mainly because they're fighting against a guy with a literal motherfucking Denial Griffin built-in effect. But that doesn't stop Zero Tendou because he's got Skull Dragon as his Vanguard, so good for him, I guess. The retire skill, as in the superior call to when retired skill, I guess it's nice because it's not just flavor, it does ensure you will always get minimum 3 or 4 attacks, which is quite cool. I believe we don't really have a Denial Griffin style effect in Vanguard right now besides the Urine combo with Botis in Dark States. But in the future, if we get more, Varjula will be very well protected because of Stardust Blade. But that means you have to open Stardust Blade, right? But even if you don't happen to fight Denial Griffin or his associates, the 3,000 power to the Vanguard Circle is highly devastating, especially on Mr. Shooting Star, because you generally will have a board of 4, which is 12,000 power added to Varjula. Then it's a 22k, 2 crit attacking Vanguard on turn 2. That's very dangerous. And that's just when you use Stardust Blade the first time. Every time you cast Stardust Blade, it is going to scale because this is Skull Dragon. This is a Skull Dragon text. As long as you keep soul blasting out, discarding your normal units, it's going to get worse and worse and worse for your opponent. Varjula is just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger, and there's nothing your opponents can do to stop it. Unless, they're buying from your drop, then But other than that, like realistically speaking, your options for your opponent are very slim, and that is really the true beauty of Stardust Blade. I would say that, you know, really props to the designers who thought of this. Like, I'm so in love. Thank you. I really hope they give Varjula more support in the future, although I do wish that they continue their design philosophy of keeping it at a CNR level for children, or at least double rare. I think that would be pretty respectable. But with that out of the way, let's move on to the great ones. The great ones for this deck, as I've mentioned previously, we have a copy of Rising Star Varjula in the right deck. But Varjula's not alone, we still have plenty more great ones to talk about in our grade 1 slot, and this is why I stress that this is not exactly a budget deck. We play 4 copies of Flame Princess of the Dancing Axe Justina. We play 3 copies of Velosa Hazard. Yeah, you remember him, right? We play 4 copies of Midhead. We play 4 Perfect Guards, obviously, and then we play 4 Static Crack Dragon. We are starting to see some rarities here, with one of them being a huge exception, and that's Justinia. Justinia is really expensive right now, at least on Yurite. I think this was like 800 yen. I don't know what is it now, but God help you if it's it's pretty high. The issue is that if you want to play Varjula and anything higher than the Great School Canteen, you will kind of need this card because it basically ensures infinite consistency for Stardust Blade. And if you've understood anything from what I've said about Stardust Blade, you absolutely need to open this. Its skill is very simple. It's the same skill that all 5 nations have. When this unit is placed on a graveyard circle from their hand, from the hand, choose 1 card from your hand, discard it, search your deck for an order that's not Regalia's Piece and put it in the drop zone. If you do, the order gets the effect that you can cast this from the drop zone, but if you do, it goes to the bottom of the deck. So basically, you get a -1 to hand, but a guaranteed order play, which basically means you can just discard anything, and you just get Stardust Blade. Yeah, that's really good. And because you discarded the card, if it's a normal unit, it gives Varjula an additional 3,000 power. Now you see how insane this shit is, right? Like, but this is probably the one card that holds you back from being called a budget deck. Again, you can play a lot of other options in this slot. I'm only telling you this out of sheer obligation because I would be lying to all of you if I didn't tell you you had a Omni Search for Stardust Blade. Realistically, you have so many options you can play here. Like you can play stuff like Eos for Us, for example. Like that's totally fine. You could play stuff like Togachirashi if you want, if you're playing a package around Souls. Like you have options here, and I mean, don't even get me started. You can even play even more expensive options than this card. Like, for example, you can play stuff like Shihab. You can play stuff like Orlando, who also helps your magic numbers in your soul. So, like, realistically speaking, you don't have to not buy this. Like, what I'm saying is that if you feel upset you can't afford Justinia, know that you still have plenty of options for this slot. So, yeah, that's really all I can say. Someone you definitely do need to buy, though, is your Perfect Guards. I don't have to explain this. Varjula, I mean, it's part of your deck. You should buy Static Crack. I feel Static Crack is a card that you should be willing to fork out the additional, I don't know, $1 for, because Static Crack is actually one of the few cards in the deck that makes it work really well. When your unit is placed in the same column as this, that unit gains 5,000 power. As I mentioned previously with Hadan Wrestle, if you do so, you basically can scale up to 24k. But don't be fooled by that. This is not just a combo card. This is a card you can play as early as turn 1 or 2 to spike your numbers for free. But that being said, all Static Crack does is give you numbers for free. So it's really easy to use in this deck, I would say, and that's why I do recommend it at a 4. Midhead, we play him at a 4 just because, when your unit restands, you retire this unit draw. It does help because, you restand your rear guards, but realistically speaking, honestly, you can play anything in this slot. I just like Midhead because, the draw is nice, similar to Brachio Force. And then we play Velosa Hazard, unironically. If you can afford the 6,000 yen Shenri, good for you, but most of us can't. And what I also like about Velosa Hazard is that he's not locked to you needing to have more regards to your opponent, and he also is a 10k booster on your turn 1 and 2, which means combined with Rising or Shooting Star, you generally have very healthy numbers that can chip over even before your opponent gets a chance to set up. So honestly speaking, I know this sounds really stupid, like why am I playing this pack fodder, but like Varjula brings out the best in terrible cards, so you can consider Velosa Hazard. Moving on to our grade zeros. Our grade zeros, we obviously play our starter, Varjula. Really, you can just play this for intimidation's sake, but you know, you can play whatever you want. Like you know, you want to play Grind your starter, go ahead. We play one Varjula. You have to play Varjula because he restands Varjula with a +1 attack. We play some France. We play 3 effect France, and then we play some. We play 8 crits, and then we play 4 heals. Basic heals. All the triggers are basic because not just for budget's sake, but more importantly because we actually need them to have 5,000 base power so that we can actually use them on the board for magic numbers boosting and beating. And that's gonna wrap up my Varjula deck profile for DZBT02. I don't think when this set started, I don't think I sat down and told myself, oh, today we will definitely get a budget deck for children. And we do. We do. I'm really glad. I mean, this is a precipice set from Graham Grace back in DBT08. And I'm happy to see that bushiroad is willing to experiment and try. I'm also happy that they're trying to expand to younger audiences. Not only are they willing to print obviously cheaper cards, like, you know, building Rotovisor or Gryandra or even Flamgram, they're like about 4,000 yen or lower. Like, I mean, that's fine, right? But this deck was like 1,000 yen or lower. Like, you gotta understand, like, we just made cheaper, even cheaper, and that's just insane. And even from a competitive standpoint, you may say, oh, you know, who the hell's gonna bring Varjula? Well, it's not about that. You're missing a point, you know. People cite examples on how, you know, Vanguard's main audience is all 27 years old and higher. But we have literal children playing this game again. And that's because we put a children's manga, we have a children's TV collab with, I think, Radio Ohio or something. Like, they recently just announced it too, for every April. Like, it's clear, DivineZ, or at least Vanguard, we are now making an actual approach to go back to children, rather than, you know, something else. And you know, I'm just really glad that we have things like this to enjoy. Because, you know, even though this is a children's unit, you know, you can still read CoroCoro or play Varjula and enjoy the material yourself, you know, if you're captivated by these kind of things. I certainly was. I won't be afraid to admit that. I think Varjula is freaking cool. You know, being able to, you know, the whole Skyride idea is kind of like 5Ds. I love it. I really do. And I hope whoever else actually enjoys this deck, I hope you pick this up. I genuinely do. Because it's really worth the few bucks it's worth. Thank you all so much for watching. Again, I will mention it once more, you know, I do plan to cover more DivineZ videos for DZBT02, but I have a lot of things on my plate, so I really would take it slow. I have multiple WGPs, I have exams and whatnot, so it's going to be really hard. But I do have a lot of lists not only tested, but prepared for all of you, and I hope to review them soon. I know this comes as a huge shock to all of you that Varjula ended up becoming my first video for this set. I mean, a lot of you would expect other things, but I just thought I wanted to start this set on a different note. I feel like nowadays, every release, I'm just, oh my god, meta deck X, and then we go, oh, you know, but it's like, why can't we just look at this from a different perspective? Like, you know, not everything in life is all gonna do. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Take care. And goodbye, kids.